Good morning, everyone. Hello, Anjali. Hello, Sonam.
Hi,
Thank you
Mrigank.
all for thank you both for being here. Very happy New Year to both of you and to everybody who's dialed in for this great webinar. I think as my son says, 2020 was a bit of a bad year because right after that comes 2021, and it proves that 2020 actually won. So that was the joke that my son was saying, and I said, no, 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 we cannot have that happen at all. And I'm pretty sure that as a group, as HR professionals, so it is up to us, and it is up to the likes of Anjali and Sonam to actually guide us through what the HR agenda 2021 is going to be, so that 2021 is no longer 2021 and is actually only a numeric year. But no, I think last year has been quite a stupendous one. We all saw lots of upheaval, lots of back and forth happening. We went into a complete lockdown, and we came out of it. Some people came out, and then we got used to the whole remote way of working. Zoom, Teams, and all of these sorts of video conference platforms became the new normal. The most commonly heard term was, "Can you hear me?" or "Am I audible?" but
Yes.
but I think hopefully now a bit of semblance will sort of come into 2021 with the vaccine around the corner and all of us waiting in line to get it. Quite happy about that, to be honest. But let me just quickly introduce our two guests here. So Anjali, she is the CHRO for Air Asia India, and while I've known Anjali for some time, she's arguably one of the most astute people as far as employee experience goes. She has always been right at the forefront. She's fought internally. She's fought with us. She's fought everybody to make sure that your employee experience has to be absolute, in the center. And she's done a great job with it. So thank you, Anjali, for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time out. Yeah. We also have Sonam Lama, and Sonam clearly comes from a business wherein I think there's been a lot of impact for Sonam because all the frontline sales force and her shops closing down, then opening up again. Then how do you actually sort of service and stuff? So she actually manages and she sort of manages the entire HR suite of that. And I have to commend. I'm pretty sure that Sonam was in a very tough spot throughout the last year. That how do I sort of get these guys out of the room, and now how do I get them back? How do I manage everybody? So thanks again, Sonam, for taking the time. We're really looking forward to getting some nuggets of knowledge from you. Appreciate you both taking the time out. But let me just sort of kick off this whole conversation. So we'll keep it fairly informal. We'll just have a brief conversation. Anybody who has any questions can please feel free to put them up in the chat. We'll try and answer them as soon as we can. One of the key things that has clearly happened from last year to this year is that HR has now become a very central agenda for in the boardroom. How has that actually changed from in your organization? I'd love to hear your views on that. What has changed from last year to this year? How has it sort of evolved, and what are the top headlines that you're thinking about for 2021? Anjali, maybe you want to go first?
Yeah, in AirAsia, AirAsia is a JV with AirAsia and Tata Group, and we always been highly people focused and highly employee focused. And through 2020 and also as we get into 21, you know, we're really focusing and focusing right from the board level up to CEO up to at the junior most manager level. I think the focus was largely on wellness, right? And that focus started right at the start of the pandemic on 25th of March. So and that continues. So wellness continues to be a huge focus. The other thing which really was skilling, and again when the pandemic started and lockdown started, we realized we have a whole lot of people with us and who were really at home, and we really started really upping our focus on skilling and obviously using technology, and that also continues this year, and that's the other what we will conversation continue to have. The third was continuous engaging and communicating with every single employee of ours. We call them all stars. So really doing it on a daily basis at multiple level across levels, whether with the CEO engagement or HR engagement or people manager engagement. And also we started really started doing a lot of peer-to-peer engagement work as well, so that people are not well, and I think we really like that so much, and that's going to continue. As we get into 2021, we and obviously looking at what the new normal look like, and that's what we've been thinking since last year's. What's the workplace design, the overall workplace design? What is it going to look like? Flexible, not flexible, how much flexibility? Because human beings, we want to meet each other. So how do we really enable that? So really looking at a really overall workplace design and thinking about it a lot. And what will the overall new normal look like? Whether airports is going to be high, with zero touch, check in the airport, and how do you really continue having your conversations? And so these are 4 5 areas we've been thinking about and continue to think about. And I think uh, from a people perspective, I think this is something which will really help us develop our business and really focus on our business as well.
And that's a that all the points that you just mentioned are clearly boardroom agenda points, right? I mean, how
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
engage more? How do you sort of design the overall organization to be able to cater to a new type of a business reality that exists, and so on. So how's it been for you all? All the points that are mentioned by Anjali are very very relevant. How much of that has actually impacted you all?
I think most of it. I think she covered a lot of points which definitely impacted. I'm sure that not only Cast 24 but most of the organizations. I think these were the top pointers that we were looking at. Wellness definitely being one of them. That it was very important for us to figure out how this change is going to impact our employees and how quickly can we get them to adapt. Not only give them the options but also make them kind of use those options, because a lot of them are not, they were not ready to accept the new change altogether. So slowly, be it an online gym class, I think my usability of the gym class increased over time, but initially it was quite difficult, and it had spikes, honestly. So
Yeah,
getting uh, aligned to the different way of working, I think that was the major agenda last year. Along with that, I think the most important agenda for Cars 24 at least last year was trust, building that, because looking at the surroundings and looking at how every organization was working, and there were a lot of organizations who kind of reduced a lot of manpower last year. So I think there was a lot of uncertainty amongst most of the employees. I don't know how it worked in AirAsia, but in Cars 24. But at that time, I think building that trust that, that the company is not going to let go of any employee, which we did not. At the same particular point of time, we had the cycle of appraisals. And with that, after having a deep conversation with my founders, we realized that, no, we are going to give appraisals to people who performed, people who've done well, and we're going to follow the meritocratic value that we have. And we did that, and that's how we kind of build trust for them to kind of be ensured that it's okay, and at the same particular point in time coming back, like you mentioned, right? Once us, business started opening up and getting the retail employees to come on ground, and these guys are the main face for us, right? At that particular point of time, when they were 100% not sure that if it's safe or not, people trusted us and came down and started working, and that was the biggest win for us also. And but that was the biggest agenda last year for us.
got it.
Move,
I think that's those are between the two of you. You sort of spoken a lot about multiple things, right? From engagement, trust building, wellness. How do you actually redesign the overall policies? Whether it's going to be performance led, what type of performances are actually valued and what are not. So thanks a lot for that. What is the headline for this year? If you were to sort of summarize yourselves, that look, we want to make sure that in this year, AirAsia or Cars 24 or that businesses this year should actually be looking at, what would that be for you?
I think
I
for
think
us, sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
And maybe you want to get that.
Yeah, so I think, for this year, wellness continues, and that continues to be an important part because we're still not out of the pandemic. Uh, and we have to keep making sure that every single person is engaged with and as well. So I'll take a minute and explain, like, right from last year, we used to we had created clusters of people, right, with a cluster manager and ensure that every employee was spoken to on every single day, right? that we continued for 6 8 months. And we used to get every cluster lead, updating a tracker. So the next day we could see a tracker saying that how many people were connected, how many people did not come to the calls, and every day we were connecting with them. And on everyday basis, because they're sitting at home doing nothing, we developed literally 5 to 6 hours of learning and engagement. So everybody had a learning agenda for that day, and they had an engagement agenda. So we used to have online yoga, online dancing. So we 4 hours of learning and 2 hours of engagement, and every single day. And we used to also track that what has been done by every cluster and how many people attended. And in case somebody is not well, obviously a Google form check going to everybody, see how are they feeling. So between engagement, learning, and wellness, everybody was tracked every single day, and also communication. So that also gave them a feeling that okay, they are still part of the organization, everything is fine. So that really worked, and we continue doing so, obviously at a weekly level now, and because the operations have started, but that really worked. Coming to your question, as I said, we'll continue focusing on wellness and upskilling, because there's a new way, like in the airlines, all the SOPs changed, became from high touch to literally a zero touch. Uh, we are still thinking about the workplace design, how it's going to be for this year and going forward, because honestly, we still don't know what 2022 is going to look like, right? But and the flexibility, and how do we really work through it, because at the airports there's not much of flexibility you can give, because you still need pilots to fly the plane, you still need the cabin crew to be there as per the DGCA rules, you still need the ground staff, although at the airports it's become really zero touch. But that is not going to change beyond a certain point. But how do you really look at enabling more zero touch, and even in office spaces? I think that's really, and the continuous reskilling, upskilling, because things are changing even at the airport level. How do you reach out to customers? How do you keep a customer delight and place with the zero touch? I think that's really what we're talking about. And how do you continue training employees in and on all stars, how to really manage this without really with social distancing, and keeping a distance. And I think it will continue this year also. And it's always good to be really, really safe, because you don't want people falling sick, and that's why wellness continues this year. So,
Yes, I
and we're thinking
agree very
for
much.
the,
Sorry.
yeah, and this
Sorry.
last thing we're just thinking what the new normal will look like. So, there are a lot of discussions around that.
Oh, okay. So what I heard you say is engagement, wellness will continue, agility to be able to sort of execute new things will continue. Sonam, what about you? Is that similar for you as well? Did you guys also do a lot of learning and engagement?
Yep, I think rightfully mentioned. I think health and wellness, not only physical health but mental health as well, will be, I think, on our top charts as important. Right? Not only providing the facility but understanding why it's important, because a lot of people don't know when to ask for help. Right? They don't know that this is normal. This is a lot of people still have, and the kind of staff that I have 70% of frontline staff, and people are still unaware and still learning about how important mental wellness is. Right? People are shy. People don't want to come in front. So that is something that I really want to solve for people. One other thing, other two things that we're working on is, one is scalable model. That is going to be the agenda for Cars 24 overall. Not only HR of Cars 24, but Cars 24 overall in terms of building scalable models. Third thing is connecting, engaging people. Virtually, we've had Zoom calls like you mentioned, which are great, but the feeling when you kind of have the water cooler conversation. I think yesterday we were chatting about that, right? Or not only just talking to your direct reportees or your manager, and apart from that, having like people to have lunch with, right?
Yeah.
That is something that I'm trying to I want to kind of fix that. Because of that, I think there are certain silos that also have been built in the while I've been working, even in my team. So if the recruitment team is there, they're just working on their
Yeah.
front and their aspect of it. They don't know what the HR operation teams might be doing, right? So bringing them more closely together and breaking those silos is going to be the next agenda in terms of connectivity and connecting and engaging people.
No, that's a great point. That how do you sort of really break silos that might have actually consciously or unconsciously built up during this time, and also continuing on the overall wellness agenda, both for the mind as well as the body, and finally engaging. So we'll come back to the whole engagement point, but one central theme that has sort of come across, what both of you have actually said till now, is that of agility.
Yeah.
Organizations during the last year had to be extremely agile, as well as this year as well. You will have to be very, very agile. So, in fact, it reminds me of something that we did for quite a few of our clients when the whole COVID thing started. Clients came to us and said, "Look, we need a work from home module, right?" Everybody had a attendance and leave module, but nobody had a work from home module. So, using our past platform, we very quickly set it up and we sort of made that available to clients. 4 months later, they came back to us and said, "Look, now we don't need the work from home module. Now we need a hot desking module." Because people were now coming back to the office. 30% of the people were coming back to the office, and they had to now know exactly who's coming with approval and be able to sort of give that. Now, that level of agility is something that I will speak with both of you separately about that, given that. But overall, you all obviously must have also had a lot of these new challenges that are coming up. And do you anticipate that coming up again, Sonam?
Coming up again, I think.
Is the whole agility that you need to keep on changing your processes, policies, and stuff?
Of course, I think one of the advantages and disadvantages, I would say, because it has pros and cons of being in a startup or in a startup mode is always agility. And at the same particular point of time, as HR, we need to figure out how quickly the employees burn out, because as much as you demand of agility, at the same particular point, when the number of working hours or the kind of input that you're putting increases, right? Because you're asking for 10x from or 100x from an employee. From the same
Yeah.
employee, would maybe in the last 2 years you were expecting an 80 or a 70 there, right? So at that particular point in time, I think agility is something that we are really always looking to in Cars 24. I mean, I would say last year what happened was, as soon as the lockdown happened, we moved to a model which is a home inspection, which we were not ready for.
Yeah.
Right? And our on-ground staff who used to sit in the retail outlet quickly changed the model. Our senior leadership, our on-ground staff, they started working on home inspection. The tech team, the product team, so quickly we changed our model, right? But that took a lot of effort. It took a lot of all-nighters to get there, right?
Sure.
So I think what the most important fact that we're going to focus on is how we can plan the agility at the same particular point of time, ensure that there is hustle also in the team, right? So that my employees don't burn out. And
Yeah.
at the time, because if you see nowadays, if I speak to any tech or product employee or any employee in retail, they are looking to spend more time with family. They are looking for own personal development, which was, yes, it was important before also, but now it has gained so much importance that you will not be able to hire great talent if you keep burning out your employees.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Anjali, you guys changed over a lot of your tech also last year, and
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think we're always changing. Yeah. I think probably except for me, most of everybody in the company is really young, so hence really agile. And just to tell you that now I ask people strong work from home model. Now I ask them a flexible work model, right? Looking at a flexible work model is never going to be static, right?
absolutely.
So, and I need a flexible model because, say, I'm Anjali, I work from home. We like to go to office sometimes, me and my colleague, right? So everybody needs that flexibility. So nobody can be 100% work from home, 100 work from office. So I've asked people to give me a flexible working model right now.
You'll be
But
getting it very well.
yeah,
You'll get it.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And so a lot of changes has happened in the airline industry, a lot of changes have continue to happen, and we are like moving technology platforms like crazy. And I remember like we transitioned our payroll from X to your in like 6 weeks time, record 6 weeks, and without a single error. And now we're transitioning other technology also. But I think the most important part when we really choose our technology partners, how agile their technology is, right? Because ours keeps changing. And the other thing, because we are a very, very young group of people, like your cabin crew will be 1,200 plus, and the pilots will be highly skilled, they are not FMBA. So simplicity and agility are the two common things we're looking for, right? What about communication go, whatever the experience they have should be super simple, super agile, and cater to different people. So again, the airlines, you have also employees, right? You have pilots on one side, then you have cabin crew, then we have security people who are then at the airport are part of your organization because of security reasons, right? They're not outsourced. They are your employees. And on one side you have these IIM IT people sitting in office, do the planning, the network planning, and all. So you have different type of people working in airlines, and hence to really cater to each set of the groups, and I shouldn't forget the aircraft engineers, highly, they're more, from a background than the pilots, but very, very important set of people, right? And hence, because you cater to different sets of people who are very, very different from each other, uh, all our systems, processes, I think we ourselves should be very agile. The way we work with them, the way we deal with them, and the way we compensate them, and the way we assess them is very different, right? The way
Yeah.
you assess pilots is very different than the way you assess, say, HR.
Yeah.
So, thankfully, our company, I think, has been very agile. But I think last year took it a different notch, and it's been interesting, right? It's really been interesting to see how well we can quickly turn things around. Yeah, there
Yeah.
are overnight days sometimes, but I think those are required. Obviously, not through the year, but there are some overnighters required for you to really turn it on quickly and push it in front of your internal customers. And and I think as the world goes, I realize there'll always be something coming up now. There'll always be some flu, something coming up, something crazy coming all the time. And I think the requirement of people, one of the skills you will need is to be agile. Agility is going to be a skill, right?
I agree.
And that's something we all need to be at whatever age you are in. So systems agility and process agility and people agility.
I agree
So
with you.
and
Thank
that's
you very much
something which,
for that.
yeah, that's really here to stay. It's not an answer
It's
for just
I
yeah,
agree with you.
yeah,
No, and
yeah,
also, let me just very, very quickly thank you for choosing People Strong and allowing us the opportunity to serve you. We promise to remain agile as much as we can, and we promise to keep you also on your toes for sure.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just going to move the gears a bit. Last year, or at least historically, whatever I used to always think of performance cycles. There used to always be a performance cycle where an employee would go and he would sort of set up his goals for the next 6 months, and then after 6 months the manager would go and review his goals, and then they would have a discussion, and then basis that his performance would get evaluated. Now, I was always very fascinated with that. I'm not from a typical HR background. I was always very fascinated with that. Why would I want to look at look at what has happened in the past 6 months, because all of that is now dated. So, I sort of pretty much I've got a lag of 6 months to perform to be able to assess anybody. But with now, what we are seeing is a huge changeover to the whole OKR model. The objectives and key results and stuff. That how do you keep on assessing on a bi-weekly basis, maybe also a weekly basis, self-assessment, manager assessment, feedback loops, and so on and so forth. How is that changed for you all? I mean, I know that at least for us right now, the number of companies who are talking to us for OKRs and performance management is just ridiculous. And I have never seen that this shift or this tectonic shift happening towards a performance based or an outcome based
yeah.
performance management system rather than what it is right now. What's it been for you, and what do you think is going to happen? Anjali, maybe you want to go first.
So for many years, I was a talent management person before I became a CHRO. Performance management really needed to change. It really needed a change. And we kept looking, and but I think there's always merits of everything. So 2020 had a lot of challenges, but I think it paved way some for much better performance management processes. Now, I'll just split. One is a performance management system, right? And system is just where you record your things, right? Earlier it used to be an Excel sheet or Word document, now it's a system. However, I think from a mindset point of view, from a manager mindset point, that is really the important part of it, right? So earlier your mindset was, okay, let's do our annual goals, and it should be only annual, and just a lot of it, as I said, in most of the Indian companies and most of the Eastern countries, we have something called place time cultures, right? And and it was never very. It needed to be more objective than subjective, and we all are human beings, right? I'm not. I'm part of it, so we wanted to be more and more objective. forgetting the fact that we're in office and we're interacting a lot with each other, we were really not getting what we really wanted, right? So I worked a lot on performance management system. Now I think coming back to 2020, right? I think in some way there's a natural shift of mindset, right? Because now I'm sitting in a different place, you're sitting in a different place, and how do I really understand what's happening, what's the work is happening? So I think there was some sort of a natural change, at least in my organization, in my mind also, to really being outcome based, right? So for example, I really had this, oh, I'm not going to meet my team at all. How do I do this? So I really started, you won't believe, I started something called everyday action review meeting, right? And I started one hour one, and I thought that in a month's time we'll make it half an hour and then 15 minutes, and let it be. And you won't believe it, Mangrik, it's been now, like 10 months, 11 months. We still have it every day. My team wants to have it every day. And most of the days we are there for 45 minutes, 1 hour, discussing. It can be starting discuss how you're feeling, how the family feeling, what's the challenge and how's work, what have you completed, what's the challenge. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's been very, very organic. And I had suggested to my entire all my colleagues to start the everyday action review, then weekly action review, monthly and quarterly. We're not on annual yet, and it's continuing as a natural process, right? And people want to be there. So I'm so surprised. Even this morning, right? I cut it to half an hour because we had our session. They said, "Oh, okay, we'll meet in the evening again." So it's been moved naturally and it's really outcome based because sitting in different places, you know what's happening. Let's see, what are the outcomes? What we do by when? What are the problems? So now that is now we've transitioned that into a technology that's a continuous performance management process, right? Which includes recognizing. So the good part is even the small things we're doing well, we're recognizing more because earlier we never to do enough, I think.
Yeah.
And something is not happening well, you are just pulling that person up or giving or is a little more serious, putting a performance improvement process in place. Or in operations, we have merits and demerits. So I think it's getting well balanced. So someone doing something well, the recognition is much more than normal, and someone not doing well is getting managed pretty well. I think I think in some way pandemic has done this for us, and we're not transferring the technology and having a system called a continuous performance process.
I
And
agree.
I think that's been one of the greatest thing because it's something we wanted to do and it's happening now. And the other thing is that some managers doing well, some managers are not doing well. But we've started this peer-to-peer learning process where managers get together, understand each other, what each other is doing well, and they're trying to copy the something similar. So I think that's really worked well.
Fantastic. No, I think this year is clearly going to be an OKR year from my perspective. I mean, if anybody is going to be on the old age of performance management, that set your goals, have your balanced scorecard, and only this, I think that is going to be a big one. So, what are your views on that one? You guys, anyways, would have been sort of doing performance exactly on the basis of outcomes, right?
Yes, we always have been. I think, honestly, like, when you mention OKRs, for our frontline staff, it's always been, or for the roles which are number oriented, has always been in terms of, what is the outcome? What is the
Yeah.
input metric you're putting in? Say, for example, if it's a person who's evaluating a car, right, for us, who's one of the most entry level employees for us, and the junior most and the strongest employees for us also. So if they are the number of cars they're checking, the kind of reports that they're making, there's always been the input metric. The outcome would always be how many cars are we selling, right? Because in the end, the organization goal is to ensure that we buy or sell the car, right? So at the same point in time, so outcome is there, but the input metric is also something that we always tracked. That was for our frontline. Of course, it comes the tricky part comes when you come to subjective conversations. Like, say, for example, let me take an example of HR. I think when you are having an HR review, it's very difficult to figure out, okay, what are your outcomes based on, and outcomes are most, in my older conversation, it would be very subjective. But I think in the recent conversation, what I have changed or what we have changed as an organization, it becomes more objective and it becomes more number oriented or data oriented. Say, how your employee pulse survey report says that HR has actually done well. So if you're from a 7 pointer, you're at an 8. and how did you move there, right? What kind of metrics you follow, and what are the metric movement like? So you exactly know, looking at your metric of say 7, say I need to work on engagement, I need to work on an R&R, right? So when I put my efforts there, and I know the ticker is moving, that means the impact is happening. Instead of
Yeah.
organizing engagement activities and saying that, hey, everybody is happy, or maybe running a survey, but I know the ticker is moving, right? I think the
Yeah.
similar way as I think a sale would work, like, when the number of cars are getting sold. Similarly for HR, I think at the same point of time, I think data is very, 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 very important, so that we know that it's all output based. It can be Glassdoor review also. So a lot of people are focusing a lot and talking a lot about a Glassdoor review and how important it is. I think it's a true reflection of an HR team in terms of how well are you doing, right? How are your exited employees talking about you, right? Is it
Yeah.
better? It doesn't have to be like a 4, 4.5. The skill just needs to go up depending on what kind of activity they're doing, so that you know that it's outcome based.
I agree with you. In fact, you mentioned the whole pulse survey and stuff. The number of companies who've come back to us and said, "Look, we want to now take your ESAT survey module," has been record breaking. And I was like, what did COVID do for you to want to understand how satisfied are your employees? I mean, why weren't you doing it earlier? But now everybody wants to have their ESAT survey inside their performance module, and they want to run it on a quarterly basis to figure out where is the issue, what is that lacking, what is not lacking. And I think that's been the silver lining, to be honest, at least in my mind, of COVID, that from an internal systems perspective, we become much more performance oriented, much more employee centric. Otherwise, typically what we had seen earlier was that people would be much more inward focused. I'm doing my recruiting, I'm doing my talent management, I've run my performance goals, and so what is the question? But there's an interesting question that's come in from Swastika about talent management, and which is really about what is the change in talent requirements other than behavioral aspects with respect to agility and resilience that we're actually looking about. And before I ask either one of you to sort of talk about this specific, the reason why I picked up this specific question is because it's been a very central point of discussion internally within our core team as well. Now as organizations have grown, they have moved beyond the basic of HRIS, of a performance system, of a recruiting system. Now, what everybody wants is a whole thread that will sort of go across the entire organization. From the time an employee enters till the time that an employee exits, how can I ensure that the skill set that he actually had at the beginning gets enhanced during his lifetime and in a measurable manner to be able to perform better, and then be able to guide him towards the best path so that he doesn't attrite. Now, this is, at least I had interviewed personally about 20 odd CHROs, and almost all of them said, look, this is going to be our next step. But I'd love to hear your views on that. Sonam, let's start with you. What are your views, especially given the type of workforce that you work with? It's a very iterative workforce, right? I mean, it's a very fast churning workforce. What are your views on that?
I think I think it's more of customizing in terms of requirement, honestly. So let me give you an example. We've just started online. Our focus basically is on to ensure like a person, say Anjali wants to buy a used car online, right? So she just needs to go to an app and select the car, just like she would select maybe a Zara top or any other top, say online on Myntra, right? And it would come home, and you can wear it, you can try it, and if you don't like it, you can return it in 7 days, right? So that's what we're moving into. And what we were before in terms of was that people come into the retail outlet, right, and they look at car, or they sell the car, right, or they get in touch with our customer experience team, or they get in touch with our sales team, where they kind of say that, okay, I want to sell this car, and this is the car that I've seen in your website, right? So we don't avoid all of those, right? So the skill changes there, because one is how you're dealing with a customer when he's coming to the store and everything, and then how you have a follow-up conversation with him after that he's already selected a car, and maybe he's about to submit or not about to submit the or about to buy the car or not. So the skill changes, and that's what we're doing. Like I think Anjali also spoke about, like online training, and online training has been really important. I think the face of the entire learning and development has changed, right? And that comes with struggles, because depending on the kind of demographic you are training, right, how good are they with the mobile app. It's not only about creating a content and putting it online, but I think it's more making it an interactive content where we also understand if the person is receptive towards it also. Because I've seen a lot of employees just skipping, or like leaving it on and then going and doing something else and then coming back and completing the module. So I've not trained anybody actually. So that's just a check mark, right? I think in that aspect, I think we have been customizing depending on what the requirement is for the next year forecast 24 for each and every vertical. And looking at, say, for example, again, I'll come back to HR because it's more of an HR conversation. uh, HR, I think what I've been training my team, and I've been sending them, invites and links, and giving them Coursera accounts and Udemy accounts on, is data. I think HR needs to definitely be stronger on data. I think we've been talking it about from years, but if you see and if you talk to people, I think we're the weakest. At least in my team, I think I won't say the weakest, but I think we need to really improve on the data front. How can we use that data, right? And how can we help business to with that data and with that analysis that we have, right? So I
Yeah.
think one thing that HR need to definitely work on as a skill for the next 2021 is getting
It's
to know
acquiring data skills.
how to use data.
Absolutely. Anjali, what about you? What are your views on this whole new world of talent management? I mean, it's going to change for sure.
Yeah, on talent management, one of the things I've realized that, they just, and all my life I've been pushing learning to people, right? But I just tried a different way. We have developed competencies, right, per role, and we really tighten those competencies per role with the help of various departmental heads. And what we've done is now we've communicated. Okay, now I'm a cabin crew. I've communicated to her that, hey, these are competencies you need, at your level, and these are competencies you need at the next level and to grow. Right? Everybody has that now. We're pushing as we speak. That's what we're doing right now. And now we say, okay, how do I get? And obviously, we made it a point to make it the language really, really, really simple, so that even a 12th standard pass person can understand what we're saying. So it's zero jargons. So every ground staff, every engineering person, every cabinet crew, everybody, finance, we are pushing their list of competencies required to do your current role very well, and the competency required to do your next role very well. And then they're saying, okay, now how do you want to develop and grow, right? And to develop yourself better in this current role, right? These are the trainings we work on, and the next role these are training we work on. And there has to be a pull process. It obviously going to be a push. And I realize that you want to keep pushing learning. People might just do it and other tick in the box, right? But how to really get them internalize it and develop the skills, not just learning. It's not just learning. So my famous quote is, I learned French for 5 years, but I cannot speak French yet, right? Because I did not practice it. So just pushing learning is not going to help an organization at all, right? It's really skill building, which is really important, right? And how do you really build a skill? Is obviously there needs some amount of learning, and there's some about how do you really practice it, discussions. And when I say discussions peer to peer, what we've started is, based on these competencies, we've created within the department itself certified airshare trainers. So if I'm a cabin crew, right, some of them put their hands up to become certified trainers. And then what they do is they help impart training or push learning to their peers. So it's a peer-to-peer learning model we've developed. We started cabin crew. It really worked very well. And because, for example, we had to really develop the skills in order for them to be better with our guests, to improve our net promoter score, which is tracked every month, every day. We did the experiment, and instead of Anjali or some HR or some consultant telling a cabin crew what to do when she's sitting in the aircraft, because she'll turn around and say, you have no clue what my job is, right? How can you sit in a glass house and tell me what to do?
Yeah.
So we work with the cabin crew itself, and they are delivering the training. And when we train them, they give you the actual problem on the ground. What is the problem they face inside the cabin, inside the aircraft? So then these, with their help, we tighten the learning process, and then they are the ones either delivering a training through a Zoom link or WebEx link, or they're also pushing, they are helping you select the learning modules on Coursera or anywhere, saying this will really help and pushing the learning. So our cabin crew, when they get it from their own peers, I'm telling you the response was brilliant. Your NPS had really gone up, and we got a lot of accolades from our CEO and from the Tata group also. Uh, it worked so well. So we had the grounds in various department asking for the same. So the
That's
whole competency model, telling people what they need to do well in their current job, what they need, and then leaving it up to them and pushing the learning through their peers, right? And they get trained through somebody else. And the response we got through peer-to-peer learning has been fabulous. There's no way somebody in HR or outside could have gone and got the same outcome what their peer has done. That's really worked. So I think going forward, this whole keep looking at competencies, keep enhancing from developing further with competency also needs to be changed. Keep doing that and keep using, peer-to-peer learning, which is really the best, right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
nothing can beat peer-to-peer learning process, because that's the best way to do. They're definitely
That's
going to learn from peers. They're learning from, an HR who's an outsider or an outside consultant.
yeah, I
It
agree with you.
really.
Totally. In
So
fact,
I'm going to continue.
yeah, no, I agree with you on that, and I think that's a very very good model to have, which is really train the
Yeah,
trainer, a trainer, and that should be a peer of the remainder guys and do that. In fact, we
yeah,
have we at PeopleStrong now sort of working on a module, not working on a module, we've actually already piloted it, wherein we've linked up performance to learning and put
right.
ML on top of it. So effectively, what happens is that if let's say one guy is doing very well and he's
Yeah,
your peer, then the performance module will automatically see what all has he done in the past
yeah.
and will automatically pick up the learnings that he has done or the training that he has done and recommend that to others so that the
I
managers
just
themselves don't need to manage that.
I just add one more point is the skill development. So the outcome of the learning. So when you say
Correct.
performance outcome based, even the learning has been outcome based. So when the outcome, did he do a presentation skill? Did he do a better presentation? Did he do a better Excel? Did he, did the learning on behavioral change? Did he get better customer accolades? So I've just added an outcome-based learning process. So I'm calling it a skill development process because that's a little more outcome-based than a learning process which is more inward-facing. So that's the only difference. That's a different terminology we're using right now. Instead of the learning, we're calling it skill building.
No,
So that
absolutely.
also has business outcomes. Yeah.
I know it matters a lot. Skill
Yeah. Yeah.
development is always appreciated more than saying, come, let's do a training.
Yes. Yes.
Even by the employees themselves. They don't want to
Yeah.
get
Which
trained, they
is
don't want to
also,
copy
yeah.
their own.
Yeah.
So even
Which is
even
really
these small things, yeah, I agree with you totally.
yeah.
There's another very well, I mean, it's an important question to answer. Anjali, you mentioned, and Sonam, you also mentioned certain things that you did in the wellness side. Now I'm pretty sure that this could also have been done online and stuff. Could you just talk a bit more about the type of things that you do, and I'll tell you what we have done for all our clients. So like we've gone and now tied up with Isha, like the Isha Foundation, right? And we've got all of their content put up into specific modules saying how do you ensure that stress is not your thing? How do you ensure that your family life is good in these troubled times? How do you do
Yeah.
this? All through Sadhguru,
Yeah.
rather than me having somebody like that, somebody else. It's directly from Sadhguru. So we're doing that, and we're seeing quite a good uptake of that happening now in our clients. And we'll
Wow.
have that for you as well. But what exactly did you all do? Anjali, maybe you want to go first.
So, as Sonam decided, why do we do it in mental and physical wellness, right? And I think in Indian, I mean, like we ask me, we don't do enough for ourselves, right? For example, I realized just this month that I've not gone for my thyroid test for like 2 years. I've not been to a dentist for 3 years. So we tend to ignore, and I'm not sure it's the Indian psyche, but we all tend to ignore, and we don't even want to talk on mental health. So a couple of things we've done, starting with mental health is a tough area to be in, especially Indian psyche, because in the Western world, people go and visit, psychologists at a drop of the hat. So again, we tried doing, mental health counseling, etc. It wasn't going anywhere. Then somebody in the company had a brilliant idea saying that you are doing peer-to-peer training. Why don't you try peer-to-peer counseling? So it's interesting. We got about 20, 25 people in the company trained, at a basic level of peer counseling, right? And obviously we use our AI chat box. So every day to ask Anjali, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling fine, not fine? Do you want any support? Stuff like that. And we got, happy to say, about 100 people saying we need some support, right? And then they were allocated to one of these 25 peer-to-peer counselors, right? And 95% of them, could help manage their peers and, talk it out, speak to them. Like somebody was from Malaysia, wanted to go back to Malaysia so badly, so stuff like that. About two or three people needed some more intense sessions, and then we refer them to a fully trained outside counselor, right? So, but I'm happy to say out of the 100 people, 102 or something like that, 97, 98 people were happy talking to peers about the problems and whatever they had, and it was solved. So again, and this, I was quite skeptical of peer-to-peer counseling, I must tell you. But I said, let's try, and we made sure these people get trained very well. And I'm so happy to say how well it worked, and and people are quite happy about it. So that
If
continues, right? How
if I may ask, just one question, and maybe this is for the benefit of the entire organization. This is a brilliant initiative. Firstly,
yeah,
what you've
yeah,
done,
yeah,
peer to
yeah.
peer thing. It's
Very
something.
skeptical, it worked. Yeah,
Well, it did work. So let's just leave
yeah,
it at that. But
yeah.
now from the training that you got imparted to these folks, these 25 odd folks, what was that training?
It was through a certified counselor. They train them on basics,
Okay.
basically listening skills. You don't have to say much. You just listen to them, and if they want an addition, like somebody wanted to fly to so and so place because they're feeling alone, and somebody wanted to talk to everybody. So it most of it was so basic. It was amazing, right? Some of them, one or two, had needed more help, and then we really got them professional counselors. So I think largely the training was on listening skills, right? How do you listen? How do you appreciate your empathy just by saying, simple words? So that really worked very well. So that was on mental. On physical wellness, we didn't subscribe to any specific, like I love Sadhguru and all, but because of various other reasons. But including, obviously the health checkup, and and COVID tests, etc. And those we did. But we had regular doctors, different type of doctors coming on, on our employee communication platform, and talking about various of health, the yoga sessions. There were huge, I mean, literally thrice a week we had wellness sessions, right? Focus on your what sort of food you're eating, how you're managing, maintaining your health, and so a plethora of it. And it's never enough, focus on health is never enough. And the thing is, I think more than pushing health initiatives and all that, I think our mentality has changed. More focus. How much do you walk? Are you walking enough? So, for example, there are videos of walk at home. We should push videos and walk at home. So it's not enough in my view. And I think this year one of my focus area to put some structure to this, physical health process. And because we have employees sitting in 20 locations, right? They're so dispersed. So how do you put a structure to health? So that's something we are focusing on now. How to put a little more structure in health and wellness so that reaches every single person. We're not able to do that right now.
Anjali, when you mentioned that it was like basic skills like listening skills and stuff, I was almost tempted to say all the husbands on this now should also get that training.
Yeah,
Because,
I'll not put spouses right now. That's different. But
just on the lighter note, I mean that's the common
yeah,
thing. You don't listen to me. I'm
yeah,
like, yes,
yeah.
right. No,
So
but
I think we put
it's a
little more
pretty
structure in physical health process this year, and like we have like no smoking campaigns and all that, a lot more structure into the physical. And that's something which we're working. How do you put structure into physical health? So that's what we're looking at right now.
phenomenal. Sonam, what about you? You also mentioned that you guys did quite a bit of wellness initiatives.
Yes, we did. I think starting from for mental wellness, we have tied up with this agency called Santulan, and I understand. I really like the initiative which Anjali mentioned, but at the same time, what I've noticed is people don't want to talk to people that they know because they feel that they might be judged, they might tell other people, right? And that's the reason why we've got a third party agency who keeps the client information confidential, so you can not only use it for yourself but also their two members of the family, because we realize that mental wellness is a lot about your surroundings. And if you feel that somebody from your family is also mentally stressed, right, that is something that you can also opt for at that particular point of time. And even currently, we encourage our employees not only for them but for their families also. Yes, the number of people using it has considerably increased actually, from the time. And it was not after COVID that we kind of started. This was started, I think, way back, I think 2 years back, that we had tied up with this organization called Santulan. But that time the usage was like nothing. There was minimal, like one or two people, kind of using it. But then after a point of time, we have a humongous trend of people actually dialing up and speaking to the specialized doctors for them and their family. I think that has been tremendous. Apart from that, I think it's a lot of awareness campaigns that we do for mental wellness, because I think the first thing that we keep giving information about is that you need to do it for yourself. Nobody can push it for you, right? There are things to help you here, but till the time you don't take an initiative, then there's nobody who can help you. So that kind of information, it can be posters, it can be articles and links, is something that we keep sharing on this messenger that we have called Slack. We use Slack, and I think it keeps us very well connected. And that's what we're doing in terms of mental wellness. And of course, the agency itself drives a lot of sessions which are group sessions, but I think people are more focused on individual sessions here. Same particular point of time, I think physical health, in terms of because of working from home, I think there's a lot of time that we spend on the laptop. So we provided the screen guard so that you don't stress your eye too much. We provided the laptop stand, table chair for whoever required, because there are a lot of people who have bachelors in our organization, right? Who might just be working, staying in a PG. So whoever required table and chairs also is something that we provided. Dongles at that particular point of time, at this for better working. And I think that was the main focus was on physical health. Apart from that, of course, we also had a dietitian session for people, because there are a lot of people, including me. I gained a lot of weight in the lockdown period. And currently also we have dietitians, or this thing called Doctor Online, right? And they can help us in terms of figure out a diet chart, our plan. The best thing which worked out for the entire organization, which we actually did it together, was a walkathon that we kind of organized, right? And like you mentioned, we were tracking steps. And we had used this app. I simply can't remember the name of the app right now, but we used this app for tracking steps for the entire organization. So they had to team up. So it could be a team from South, it could be a team from North, and they kind of compete in terms of number of steps that they had. And it was a big hit, and there were a lot of people who participated. And the best thing, I think, the most important thing about health you need to understand is, I think there are a lot of people who don't know, have much information about it, and secondly, a lot of people need push. So we've added people into groups, right? So there is a group where some of my leaders are, some of my mid senior people are, who go for running, right? And once I connected these people, I realized there are more and more of them, and it's easier for them to kind of get used to this habit once they're part of the group, because the group pushes them.
No, I agree with you. I think that's a brilliant thought that you put forward about how can you get everybody involved and given a bit of a competitive nature of the overall game. So phenomenal stuff. There's a related question that's been asked over here by Dipali, and what she's actually asking is that, hey, aren't people actually just tired of screen time? No matter what we do, whether we're doing wellness, whether we're doing training, whether we're doing meetings, whether we're doing whatever, at the end of the day, we're still in front of a screen, be it a mobile or a laptop screen. Now, have you all initiated certain policies which say that, look, you need to cut screen time at such and such time, and just please cut off completely? I mean, I know that like for example, at PeopleStrong, we do have a unsaid rule. We haven't set it up formally, but we have an unsaid rule during lunchtime, and after 5:30, you will take explicit approval of somebody before you are actually going to be. and it works for us. But what did you guys think? And do you think that's an important one for you, Anjali?
Yeah, it is important. So, obviously, when we first started the lockdown, it's like the pendulum, turning to the extreme left, right? And we used to work like nights and crazies. And it has really been toned down now, right? And so, normally, what we do is, yeah, we do have our lunchtime, etc., and we don't really bother each other. And but you can't fix a fixed lunchtime. People have it differently. But what we do is we just make sure that everything, whatever meetings we have, they are on the calendar, so we don't disturb each other. A. B is a lot of times, there are times when new people are there, we insist on video, but then, sometimes we are just together, we insist on non-video so that, you need not keep looking at your bright screen all the time. I'm not sure how it helps. But yeah, like Sonam says, screen guard goes on, and we try to close by a certain point, it's at 7 in the evening. And unless it's something really, really urgent, we just don't bother each other beyond that. But we also understand you're sitting in a home, you're sitting in families, like if you're sitting in a place like Bombay or something, homes are smaller and there's bound to be some, family noise or whatever it is. We've just learned to accept that very well. And and I think more importantly than anything, I think we've really learned how to treat each other. I think, okay, let me say this way, and this is all my entire team says this, we've really become much more closer now than when we are in the office. And this is
Wow.
everybody has said this to me. We are far away, but we become very, very close to our team. So we also have, by the way, Zoom parties. So every week, we have one hour where we just have fun. It's a Friday, 5 o'clock, and people look forward to that. I thought we'll just make it once a fortnight or once a month, and they said no, no, we do once a week. So we do
Wow.
our, video conferencing parties, Zoom parties, and they're very well liked with some online games. And people say that this has brought us much more closer. And not me saying it, the entire team says it, including my colleagues and everybody.
Yeah.
So see, everything in the world has advantage, disadvantage. Like if you decide to cross a road, there are problems, right? But I think we have to just go with the flow and see what works best and manage each other better.
I
So
totally agree with you. Totally. So what about you guys? How did you guys actually manage, or how do you guys manage?
But for people who are maximum time on their laptop, I think we got this feedback honestly that hey, that there is too much of screen time sometimes, and sometimes people just like incessantly call you whenever they feel that they have a free time, and though we do have calendar blocking system, but they have their own challenges. People overblock it. People say that I need time, and then of course there's only certain time in a person's calendar. So I think one thing that we did was figure out that, for team to team basis, what is your common lunch time? You decide that and you define that, right? And that is going to be your screenshot time, right? So whatever the lunch break is, apart from the front and the back, like, a few minutes ahead and later, right? You can add 15 to that. And you can have a screenshot time where you can spend and have lunch with your family, right? And it's going to be common so that the entire team is aligned, because a lot of work is interrelated, right? Sometimes maybe Mrigank, you're having lunch and I need you, right? And maybe you need Anjali when she's having lunch, right? But we realize if we have a common lunchtime, and we have like a set time for everybody, so then people can just not connect with each other or not disturb each other at that particular point of time, because that's me time, right?
Yeah.
Same time, I think we've been focusing and speaking to a lot of leaders on. I had a call with my founder, I think last week, and he said that hey, are we getting employees to work on a Saturday, Sunday? I said sometimes we spill over. Sometimes especially when on Mondays when I have induction, I have my HR team working on Sunday, that in case, hey, is all the assets ready, or all is not ready. So what we are all trying to do is focus and speak to all the leaders and say that, hey, let's figure out a way where Saturdays and Sundays we don't disturb each other, so that's your time, right? I understand, and I think the question is rightfully so. There's too much of screen time sometimes for me as well, and there's one more thing that we were trying to do, that instead of because we were trying to get people together and stay connected at the same time, and not virtually, because we've done a lot of virtual meetups. So we were thinking that we'll try and send our product team and tech team to maybe to Goa, or to a hilly area, right, where they can just 1 week work together, right, and then connect also, and then come back, if that is if in case everybody's, because it's optional. in case it works. And this is something that new that we are going to try to, first, to break silos, second, to ensure that everybody is not only virtually meeting but also can meet up, because we recently had a data science meet, because people want to kind of see each other also nowadays, right? I think there are more people who are writing to us that, when are you opening office, Sonam? So
I'm gonna tell my HR to start following your lead on this one. Send the growth team away, send the growth team away to a hilly station and have some fun. So
yeah,
no,
I
I
think
think
people doing that.
it should be. I think it's a great thing, as long as you have great internet and sturdy laptops and a place to sit. You can be working from anywhere across the globe right now. I'm totally for it. I mean, this is the first time, to be honest, that even the sales team or the client facing teams are actually saying, look, we could be anywhere now. I don't have to be part of a client anymore physically. But no, thank you so much. There are lots of other questions. My apologies, folks. We've not been able to take all the questions over here, but we're actually coming to the end of this session. It's been a great session, Anjali and Sonam. Thank you very much for sharing all the insights. Lots of learnings. I mean, engagement, learning, productivity, technology, wellness. All of these, I hope will continue to make us better and better HR organizations. And best of luck to both Cars 24 as well as AirAsia in the new year. And we hope to do more business with all of you, and keep on supporting both of you as well as other companies that are out. So thank you both for the thing. I just have one last question to both of you. Any last predictions or any last comments for the team that's here, and we'll then wrap it up. Anjali and Sonam, anyone?
No, continue to stay healthy, and because that's the best thing you can do right now. And once
I
you're
agree.
healthy, everything is taken care of.
Fantastic.
I think at the same time, I would say, for the HR folks who are there, focus on data. It'll help you prioritize, right? And then focus on self development and self love. I think that's the most important thing.
Fantastic.
Great.
Thanks a lot for that. Thank you
Yeah.
all for being a very patient audience. Thank you for putting in your questions. Really appreciate it. And again, thanks a lot, Anjali and Sonal, for taking the time to do this. It's been a great session. I personally learned a lot, and I'm going to go and implement that now at People Strong. Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.